Disclaimer. The views, opinions, and statements expressed in this podcast are for informational, artistic, and entertainment purposes only. They do not necessarily reflect the views of the host, guests, or affiliated organizations. This podcast is not intended to provide legal, medical, or professional advice. While we aim to ensure that the information presented is accurate, we make no representations or warranties about the completeness, reliability, or suitability of the content. Any actions taken based on this content are done at the listener's own risk. The creators and contributors of this podcast disclaim all liability for any loss, damage, or harm resulting from the use or reliance on this content. Furthermore, the podcast may include discussions of sensitive topics which some listeners may find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. All music, content, and creative expressions featured in this podcast are intended to uplift marginalized voices and are protected under free speech and artistic expression rights.
Welcome to AIPAC Zombies. I'm Toshio. I have been a writer for many years, also have a podcast called Sad Francisco, of which Mama Ganoush has been a premier guest over the past year, and I'll hand it off to you.
Hi, I'm Mama Ganoush. I am the last trans person living in the Castro.
Is that true?
No.
I mean, it has gotten progressively more like heterosexual, cisgender. There's a lot of nuclear families.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, there's a lot of Reaganism. But yeah, I'm a drag artist and I'm also part of the Hala Collective. And I am also Toshio's mother part-time. Yes.
Glad to learn this. And I wanted to ask you, have you been in a Cybertruck as of yet?
Oh, no, especially after they blew up. Like, that's hell no. But I have my in-laws who are my brother-in-law, who I really love and admire, has one.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people that I know kind of talk about how Elon Musk might have just draw that thing on a piece of napkin, and I was like, go do it. But no, I've never been in a Cybertruck. I'm really terrified of doing this right now after it blew up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. New Year's Day, we had the Cybertruck explode outside of Trump Tower in Las Vegas.
Also, I would never drive in a Elon Musk car because he names cars after women or something like this. Did you know about this?
I didn't.
It's a whole, maybe it's a Reddit thing, but I don't know. That guy's a douchebag. I don't trust anything he does. Yeah.
Well, yeah, sorry to say, but we're going to be talking about Elon Musk
Yay.
today. Yeah, the dude who owns all the satellites, the richest person in the world, who actually was, allegedly living at the Twitter HQ just a few blocks away here in near Civic Center.
He lived there?
He said that, yeah, he was living there for a while. I mean, the first thing that he did when he bought Twitter a couple of years back was get rid of a lot of the staff. And there was a lot of empty offices there. Yeah. The other thing that is interesting, he is currently engaged in a lawsuit because he didn't pay rent on that space for many, many months.
Rich people are cheap. Yes.
And they can kind of they can kind of do whatever they want.
He didn't pay rent for the building?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a whole city block here in San Francisco.
It's insane.
So, it must be nice. Must be nice.
But also, honestly, Toshi, whatever this guy is saying is 90% of the time might be a lie.
We have been
hypothetically
talking about other tech CEOs. Gary Tan was the subject of another episode that you can check out, and kind of how these tech CEOs create a narrative around their lives and about how they always came from nothing. They always came from the dumpster, and then, a rags to riches kind of story is what they pitch. And it's important because it makes people believe in whatever they're trying to sell. That they were able to accomplish this almost superhuman innovator who's bringing the world into, futures that are more, futures full of splendor.
Yeah. And also people don't know that they actually don't innovate, they buy things. Like Elon Musk bought Tesla from some people that actually were creative. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like these people are not smart. Also with Elon Musk, it's really hard like to up this. His origin is Afrikaans. He's like an apartheid origin from South Africa. Like you can't fuck with that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like he
for
can't
sure.
he can't make up that he's coming from nothing. Or did he ever actually say that?
Yeah, no, he has, and the truth is,
I'm jumping the gun.
contrary,
I'm sorry.
for
I'm
sure.
sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I
I
mean,
just hate him so much.
the problem is like, in 2025, way too many of us know way too much about this dude, and
the transphobic dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, totally.
One of many.
Yeah, no, we all know all of these little facts that make up the man that is Elon Musk, and almost none of these facts are positive. I mean, like you said, he grew up in South Africa. His dad is outspokenly a white supremacist, and an emerald dealer is one way that he got a lot of his cash.
He
and
also
real
is
estate
an emerald
development.
dealer. That's like the stereotype of a evil, like of a villain in a comic series.
Right.
Like he's like the blood orange. Like that's the person Leonardo DiCaprio was fighting. I
The
guess,
blood
in the
diamonds.
diamond.
Yeah. These aren't fair trade emeralds. These aren't recycled emeralds.
Yeah.
He grew up in a situation where he was very well taken care of. So many white people in South Africa, but he decided he wanted a bigger life, and he moved to Canada at the age of 18. His mom was Canadian, so it was easy for him to get Canadian citizenship.
Yeah.
He soon crossed the border into the US and went to Stanford in 1995.
What a horrible struggling life.
Yeah,
Like what a
you could
life
tell.
of struggle
You could tell.
and like passion.
Yeah, there's not a lot of scholarship entrance to Stanford.
What a sad moment when he had to go to Stanford. Yeah.
And so it turns out Stanford has been this, incubator of evil for many years, and
good. There's some like good students.
I'm sure there is. I'm
but
sure
not
there
Elon
is.
Musk,
But unfortunately, there's so many of these types, like Gary Tan, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. He was part of the PayPal mafia with Peter Thiel, another Stanford graduate. These people who are financializing our lives, making a lot of money off of being middlemen in transactions that now we've sort of become dependent on some of these tools because they've been taken up by so many corporations and governments as governments begin to do more in the way of public and private contracts. And so at this point, like in 2002, he becomes naturalized in the US. And he, again, is this entire time telling the story about how, so many tech CEOs, this narrative that he rose from the dirt.
Yeah, there's no tech CEO who's not rich that I know about, at least. Like Brian Chesky, Airbnb, Zionist, rich from Upper East, like Northeast. Mark Zuckerberg, Zionist, rich. You know what I mean by money. Bill Gates, his parents were like these very famous lawyers in Washington State. Zionist also, like he's a Zionist, of course, because he supports Israel through his company. And then Elon Musk is, a white supremacist, family, great heritage from the land of white supremacy, like South Africa, Afrikaans. And I'm sure like his wealth when he was like born was like at least $1 billion. If your father was like working in emeralds, I don't really know. At least a millionaire. Nobody works in emeralds and not like. Also, you're not just a millionaire, you're also a criminal. Like you're like literally like his father was like a criminal.
You're making money off of basically like indentured servitude. And slavery.
And that's what he
the
does.
Mines. My first knowledge of Elon Musk was like the first time that I ever set eyes on the man in a photograph was when he went to the Met Gala in 2018 with Grimes, because I was familiar with Grimes.
Yeah.
Was that like, when did you become familiar with him?
I worked in tech in the past for a little bit, and I knew him from Tesla when he acquired Tesla at that time. Maybe that was around that time or earlier, but he wasn't like as famous in the tech CEOs like people like, for example, Zuckerberg or like Sundar or all of these like different people at Google. He was like an up and coming person. And then I randomly saw him in a movie. There was a movie when he was like, I am Elon Musk. And he was like this like...
Like a cameo?
Like a cameo. He was like an extra. Like not an extra. He was like, I guess, I don't really know what he was doing in a movie, but there was a movie.
Okay.
I can't remember which one, but it was a movie when he was like at a bar and some person was like, I was like, oh, I'm Elon Musk.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, he's obviously been trying to cultivate like a public persona for many years.
Iron Man 2. Yes. Yes,
Thank you.
Iron Man 2. Thank you, Tofu. Yes,
Thank you.
He was in Iron Man 2.
So he's been good about like getting his name and face out there, including, by dating people who are famous, marrying some of them, either, models, musicians, actors, and spending a lot of time around celebrities, which has made him even more famous, and by extension, gotten his name out there. And in some cases, people associate more positive things with him because he's surrounding himself with other celebrities. Back when not as many people were familiar with him and he wasn't the richest person in the world. One person that was not impressed
he was always in the top like 30. Like he was never like...
Oh, from youth. Yeah. I mean, he was never like struggling.
Yeah. He was never like,
As much as he wants to paint himself this way. Yeah. And this is something that the person that, sometimes she has very offensive takes, but in this case, I think we all should have listened to Azealia Banks a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah.
She was invited to Elon Musk's house, where she, at the time in 2018, sort of claimed to be tricked to come to Elon Musk's house by Grimes to have a threesome.
Oh.
And she went on, like a Twitter tirade. This was before Elon Musk owned Twitter. And as she's...
Oh, he tried...
She believed that Grimes had brought her there. No, this isn't... That's I think would be too serious a claim.
Yeah.
It's more like she felt like Grimes was inviting her to his house. And she was waiting for a while. They were supposed to collaborate on music. Yeah. And so she was stuck in this mansion. And she's like, what am I doing here? And so she surmised that, maybe this was about hooking up or something. But she found him to not be cute at all in person. He was, quote, a trash-ass beta male pig that was given his start by his parents, his disgusting racist parents who took advantage of thousands of black people in South Africa, and also that he is a fake-ass libertarian shitbag like so many other tech CEOs.
Yeah. That's solid.
Solid assessment.
That's a solid assessment.
Yeah. So now, in 2025,
this episode is done.
We can look back on 2018 when Azealia was trying to warn everyone about this man.
Yeah.
Who now, owns so much of infrastructure around us. These tunnels that are being dug by his company, the Boring Company, underneath Las Vegas. For the Hyperloop, which is, supposed to be a replacement for the subway, using magnets that is seemingly just like a pipe dream. And he owns so many satellites around the world. He's got SpaceX, and they are forming all of these collabs with, I noticed last time I took a flight on United Airlines, starting to contract with his satellites to deliver internet to the planes. So, I mean, he's really making himself sort of, it's hard to extract some of his businesses from life in the US.
Yeah, and also like he's basically the Wizard of Oz based on the Wicked story. Yeah, like, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
but
yeah. He's the Wicked. Oh yeah, yeah. No, he's totally. He was like he's basically just the father of the like he's a that's what tyrants are. He's the father of America, I guess.
Yeah, and wild to think that he was like spending so much time just a few blocks from where we are. I mean, obviously, all of these tech goons have so much money, so much power.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, he's basically like the shadow president. Like, with Trump, helped him get elected by using Twitter to his advantage, which is obviously now a huge media platform
for alt-right people.
Yeah, and getting the right kind of people interested in going out and electing Trump, and just funding his campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. Elon Musk is just a total douchebag. The only thing that was surprising to me...
They've been about PR, and so it seems like whatever...
Also, he's South African citizenship-wise, I guess, so maybe because South Africa was standing for Palestine. I'm really trying to understand what... He didn't do anything, by the way. He did nothing. He basically said that he went, and then he ended up meeting with Netanyahu and spending time with the Israelis after. Like, he spent a lot of time with Israel, but in the beginning, he kind of talked about how he could spread internet to Gaza at a time where Israel was blocking the internet. He was saying something like this.
Well, he could. I mean, we've seen even like with, I know in Ukraine, there was a skirmish over the fact that he was supplying internet with satellites, and so he was able to turn off internet. And I guess in some cases it affected like the Ukrainian military, and U.S. and Ukraine's military were not happy about that.
That adds up more. Because also even if he was gonna provide internet to Palestine, which he never did, or to Gaza, it's a business decision. He's a warmonger.
Yeah.
Like, his parents profited on emeralds.
Totally.
And he's like somebody who profits on war because like we'll talk about this.
The point on South Africa that you're trying to make, clearly he doesn't have the same values as the government of South Africa or a lot of people from South Africa, which has been...
The people of South Africa revolted against him and his father and his kind. He was like inbred white colonialist.
He's not claimed by a lot of South Africans, including like, Mandela's son, who... was talking about how apartheid in Palestine, from many angles, been worse than in South African apartheid, which ended finally in 1994. And they've been, of course, championing Palestinian rights in front of the ICJ, International Court of Justice.
Yeah, that was sanctioned by the U.S.
Yeah.
It's insane, anyways.
Yeah.
I'm sure Elon's father was very happy with this when the ICJ was sanctioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of like the work that ICJ did in support of South African liberation, actually in the past, and going after these like criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised his father even still living and doing emerald mining, and that's really sad that they could still do that in South Africa. You know?
Yeah. Or not anymore. This is where he. Yeah, I don't know.
That's why maybe he would move to Canada for this. Go drill some oil in the...
I don't... I think that they got so rich on this, emeralds dealing. That they probably don't have to work anymore. Certainly would never have to work a day longer in their lives today. So how we know about like Elon's like very much a Zionist has to do with his dealings with Twitter, which he bought in October of 2022. Feels like so much longer. Yeah. But it was only a couple of years ago, and he gained control of one of the major way that people get information. And
he didn't even want to buy it. It was like a joke, I guess, and they were like, "You committed to this. You have to finish the sale." And he was like, "Oh, I guess I have to." But I feel like it was a billionaire hobby. Like he was playing on Twitter, and he was like, "Maybe I would love to buy this shit."
Yeah, no, that's the he accidentally, I guess, signed some papers or made it clear that he was going to purchase the platform. And I mean, in the end, it has seemingly worked out well for him. Yeah. Even though Twitter itself is not profitable, like it has gained him access to the presidency of the US.
Oh my God, yeah. He would totally run for president, and quote me on this. In 4 years, I won't be surprised if him or the other like gender douchebag, Zuckerberg, run for president.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
That's
yeah.
the vibe. I mean, he's a more richer billionaire than Trump. Both of them are not smart. They just inherited money.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would say he's smart at like the PR game, and he still has somehow convinced so many of his followers that he is somebody that they should listen to, unfortunately.
I'm really confused why Americans glorify this man. And some Arabs do. Hey, brothers, sisters, siblings who are Arabs or Swana, don't glorify this piece of shit. He's a Zionist. Just a moment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Arabs, even the Middle East, like people, I don't really understand why people glorify him that much.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Is that
I
like
don't. I mean, I did just see like online there was like a meme of Cybertruck that's wrapped in keffiyeh, like going around on the internet recently.
Why?
And I'm like, yeah, it's a very confusing image.
Yeah, it is confusing, and I think that I guess the PR game is good, but I have a theory. Hear me out. I have it doesn't make any sense, but can you hear me with that theory?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, cool. So, think about it. He comes from South Africa. This is an apartheid, like, you know, Europe trash that, like, and criminals, they send them to South Africa to, like, you know, sort of kill all the natives that they usually do, and then become rich. So basically South Africa is similar to Palestine, because in Palestine you have all this, like, you know, European trash going into like these settlements to, like, you know, harass Palestinians and kill them and do all this shit. And then the US was also kind of built on the same colonial project 400 years ago. So I feel like South Africa, Canada, the
Australia,
US,
yeah.
like this is all sort of the same vibe. So I feel like the US right now is like 400 years of the society that started in Israel as a colonial society 76 years ago, and very similar to the South African, like, you know, sort of colonial project. So what I mean by that is, like, think about Israel in 400 years. That's the US for you. And that's why, I guess, why a douchebag like that would be very, very, like, sort of famous in America, similar to other douchebags that are famous for in Israel, to all these, like, colonial, like basically your trash that goes to Palestine. So I don't really know if that makes any sense.
No, I mean there's so much that stems from all of these.
I mean, it's the same vibe.
Like colonialism. Yeah, we could. I mean, this is a vibes-based podcast. We have some facts,
Okay.
but
okay, like the guy doesn't look good for me at all. I don't find him sexy at all.
I mean, you and Azalea, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a picture of him before the hair thing. I'm not shaming him on the hair loss. I mean, look at me. But he looks like, basically like the douchebag next door. Like, next door douchebag. That's how he looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
Any dude that walks around with like an Australian Shepherd in like Amazon headquarters that works for Amazon kind of looks like Elon Musk. A lot of, like, there's a lot of similarities of him, a lot of like, people
it's
that
a type,
works in
yeah.
tech. It's a total type. He has no taste in outfits. You know what I mean? He is a hella transphobic to his own daughter.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's a complete douchebag. He's not smart. People think rich people are smart. They are not. He has really good management company that does the money management for him that he inherited from his father. All the acquisition that he does is based on consultancies that he works with, whether he hired McKinsey or any other, like, you know, consultancy do that. Tesla, which is like the pride of his life, is not even his invention. So just a reminder that these rich people are not smart.
Yeah.
Like, he did not engineer something and then made money on it. Even if he did, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He inherited that money that he started this project with.
Yeah. And now he has enough money to create this narrative around him that he was the one who innovated all these things.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
No.
Yeah, and so...
That makes Mitt Romney looks like an angel, this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. So October 2022, he buys Twitter. He retweets an anti-Semitic trope about how, I guess, there's this trope out there that Jews are trying to, like, end white people. which I didn't know about.
That also adds up because a lot of Zionists are anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a Zionist, but he's anti-Semitic.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
I don't like it. It just adds up. It's not surprising to me. Like
Yeah. So
know.
he had to do a bunch of another thing that he did was like he was joining all these Twitter Spaces, which is on the platform of X, Twitter.
Yeah.
Like you basically like a live audio chat. So he was joining these spaces with Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, who are these white supremacists and very outwardly anti-Semitic. And so a bunch of advertisers boycotted, and he immediately went into like damage control mode. And
you mean his PR agency went into damage control.
Yeah. And so he went on podcasts and started saying things like 2/3 of his friends are Jewish, and like he invited Netanyahu to California to come and hang out, and
because that's the type of Jews he like.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he like white, Ashkenazi, like, you know, like supremacist, eugenic, you know, Zionists. That's the type
lots of power.
I don't think he'll be hanging out with like Judith Butler. You know what I mean?
Absolutely
like
not. Absolutely not.
He won't be hanging out with us like these people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He will be hanging out with like some douchebag, like Netanyahu or something.
For sure. Yeah. Who is maybe the very worst person standing today.
Yes.
On this earth.
A war criminal. Yes.
So he later was invited back to hang out with Netanyahu in occupied Palestine and attended the address that Netanyahu did to Congress, which is like the most disgusting show of how our Congress is like just willing to like goon over these war criminals.
Yeah.
Because they fund them. And he suspended like Palestinian activists like Nora Erakat. And he said at one point that, you know, from the river to the sea would result in a ban, even though he's supposedly a free speech absolutist.
Oh yeah, that's the free speech absolutist thing is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Like no, don't trust tech people. Trust unions and trust your own institutions that you build with your own communities. This is bullshit because people in the past like 20 years are like tech is so good. Like Mark Zuckerberg, they're so like, you know, it's all about equality, and you have all these like HRC stamps and stuff like that. Where now, they like the first thing they did was like, oh, you could do transphobic shit on Meta, you could do the same thing on Twitter, like, but then they banned sex. They have this like weird sex shit that they are like. It's just it's bullshit. There's nothing called. There's nothing. This is not true. Like I feel like a lot of people don't really get that these tech CEOs and these platforms are not like, you know, welfare liberal platforms.
Yeah, and they want to, I mean, that's the reason that they want to ban TikTok is because there was, at one point early on, less censorship of pro-Palestinian views. Now that's not really the case, but they don't want those views to be seen or heard.
Yeah, and also they want to be able to own the TikTok narrative in the US through US-based companies, like whether
capitalism,
Meta or, like companies that actually have like CIA agents working in it. Like, you know, Meta hired ex-CIA and Mossad people. And Twitter is the same, like, or X, sorry. This guy also, I know that you said that he's good in marketing, but why would you take one of the most known brand names in the whole world, Twitter, and name it X?
He's been obsessed with X.
And it looks like a Tesla.
Yeah, he's owned the X domain names for like many decades.
Yeah.
It's been an obsession of his.
It could be also a whistle.
It's like hardcore.
I'm curious if it's a dog whistle for like neo-Nazis or something. I don't really know, because given that his father's heritage, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know if it's a dog whistle because like he's the master of this shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he is, I think it's just like a corny, like him trying to be like super mask, like super mask alpha sigma. Yeah. You know? Yeah, that's sums it up in a sentence. Yeah, I mean, he, like the point at which like it was very, very clear that he was turning Zionist And again, like it could be just he's all about that cash and he doesn't actually ideologically really care, making him more of a zombie, I suppose.
But I really think if your father is like a white supremacist and you come from South Africa and and you have that heritage in you, I am 100% sure that you have that belief eugenically that you're a better human being than other people because of just you're white.
Yeah.
And also it's a whole stigma that a lot of billionaires do in general, especially the white ones, you know. But I really think that he is a believer, if not in Zionism, in white supremacy and eugenics.
Yeah.
Like I won't be like surprised if he wants to return eugenics back or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean that's kind of what he is trying to do with things like, you know, he recently said that we need to there aren't enough Americans who are smart enough to be engineers in the US, mainly because he wanted to get in cheaper labor.
Yeah.
But I mean, he at the point at which like it became very clear that he was Zionist and there was no going back, though, was like he joined Netanyahu on like one of these tours of occupied Palestine. He also although he had threatened to sue the ADL, the Zionist organization, the Anti-Defamation League, he was quickly, like, he saw that they had started this boycott against Twitter by all these advertisers, and he got in line. And so he and Jonathan Greenblatt from the ADL are now, you know, friends.
I don't really think he was worried about money loss. Maybe he does. He's a cheap ass. He told me he didn't pay for his rent for a whole year, you know. He's an elitist. These people are elitists. They think that the smartest people are the people like them that comes from these Ivy Leagues, not from these like state universities and other places, are actually really good. The other thing also, they look at cheaper labor, and for them, they don't mind like moving money just to cut the cost, even if it's going to impact the quality of the products. But the problem in this country that we don't have unions. We have a lot of talent that is being basically like deprioritized. And then there were tools in order to hire people more in tech that are from diverse background and have a lot of talent, which we call it like the DEI, or diversity, equity, inclusion, which is basically a replacement for unions in a way that is not threatening for the company, but at the same time to provide some cuts from the federal government and the state government if you hire diverse employees. But because of the amount of exodus that these companies are doing by removing all their development outside of the United States, they don't have to abide by these DI rules anymore or get these subsidies because they're saving hella money.
Sure.
And that's why, again, Zuckerberg was able to remove all the DI programs. And similar to Elon Musk and all of these people, the way they actually evaluate their employees in tech, it came down to capitalism at the end. So there is no morality in tech. There is no morality in billionaires. There is morality in unions and people. Yeah. So, and I feel like this is just a good reminder that, yes, tech could do that only in the US. Tech cannot do that in a lot of European countries and other places.
Right, I mean, with
the
Tesla strikes that have, in some cases, still going on, they have been able to get a lot of concessions from Tesla at these factories over in Europe because there are stronger unions.
Oh, absolutely. Also, this country in the 80s and before the Democrats sided with the Republicans and they basically went after destroying the unions, this country wasn't operating like this. You can't just lay off people, major exodus of layoffs of people. Entire cities are laid off, basically. 12,000 people is a city. You laid off a whole city in a minute, you know what I mean? And an email at 3 o'clock in the morning. The other thing also I want to mention is the No Tech for Apartheid movement. And I feel like talking about Tesla and talking about Elon Musk, one of the things actually that we kind of have to highlight is the No Tech for Apartheid movement. And this is for people who work in tech who believe they could move things or do things differently in the US, but also there's a lot of people in Ireland and other places that actually have unions where they could talk openly against Israel and the genocide of Palestine.
Yeah, you self-censor. Yeah.
It's terrifying to be a Palestinian in these companies, openly Palestinian, because the microaggression and the racism that you would endure, you're not really open to it. Especially that you already have a lot of pressure to perform, to get growth, to make sure the revenue is working, you know what I mean? And working on this like absolute OKRs that has nothing to do with equity of employees or any form of good culture for the company, but it's really just all about revenue and growth.
Yeah.
No matter what you are. Just a reminder that these, like, I'm really talking also to the Arab community, which I'm really confused why they like Elon Musk. Like, let's talk about the environmental impact of Tesla.
Well, he's trying to get to Mars, so he's not really concerned about.
Not at all. I agree.
Here.
That person, you should not be glorifying that person. You should just remember that this person is the reason why you are, if you're Palestinian, you're witnessing a genocide. If you're an Arab, you're a threat of like a full, total, like totalitarianism that's gonna coming your way if you don't have it already. And then your grandchildren will not be able to breathe clean air because of people like him. So you kind of have to think, you know, if you're a BIPOC person, if you're a person of color, if you're a person from the global south, yes, leave this like genocidal maniacs and the settlers celebrating them, but you should not be celebrating with them. You know what I mean? Just understand, like, just wake up. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like
she
the
got
cult of capitalism.
She got so excited.
You did.
Barbara from Abbott Elementary. Yes.
Thank you for listening, watching, and we'll see you soon. If you have any ideas for people that you think we need to highlight, you can find us online. Thanks for watching the first season. Yeah. And that was a good end for the first season. Thank you, Tofu, so much behind the camera, who's helping us edit and run this whole show. We appreciate you. And thank everyone who's like engaged with us. Yeah. See you later. See you later. Peace. Cheers.